Kia ora. Kia ora everyone. Thank you, Mia Kara. I'll open up our meeting with a karakia.
Thank you.
Wairea I runga, wairea I raro, wairea I roto, wairea I waho, kia mauri tū, kia mauri oho, kia mauri ora, haumi e hui e tae ki e. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you, Moho. So the purpose of the meeting today, it's an emergency meeting for two issues, which I'm sure we can deal with expeditiously. The first is the rally issue, and unfortunately we forgot to get the final sign off. And thank you, Aisha. I'll move that the apology from Felicity is accepted. Is there a seconder, please?
Yeah, I'll second that, John.
Thank you, John. I assume we can put all in favour, please say aye, without having to go through the tick box. Thank you. All right, so the recommendation is that council approve the, stop flicking please, thank you. The council approve the proposed temporary road closures within the Far North District Council for safe event operations during the International Rally of Whangarei on Saturday 14th of May. Also move. Do I have a seconder, please?
I'll second your worship, Councillor Court.
Thank you. Is there any comments you wish to make, Councillor?
Thank you, John. I understand, and I will seek clarification from Mr. Finch, that this was meant to be processed and was missed. So that's hence the reason that it's come to us today under urgency. There was a substantial economic impact assessment report that came with this. I was sent that by the organiser. I was contacted by the organiser. I've read the plan. I no longer have it in front of me because I assumed that this was all business as usual and had been taken care of. I logged on in time to hear some comments from Belinda Ward in regard to community consultation. I didn't get all of it. I do know that the report addressed all that in quite significant detail, but I don't have the details to hand to answer any specific questions. I think this is just a pro forma thing that we probably need to tick off today. Thank you, Your Worship.
And I think, unless I didn't hear any of Belinda's comments, but I suspect she may be more interested in the slip than on the rally, but because she asked that question about the slip. Anyway, is there any other comments? Because otherwise I'll ask everyone to vote. All right, we'll put it to the vote, please. Have the vote up. I'm in favour. Councillor Court.
In favour.
Councillor Clendon.
In favour.
Councillor Collard.
In favour.
Councillor Radich.
Aye.
Councillor Smith.
Aye.
Councillor Stratford.
Aye.
Councillor Tepanier.
Aye.
Councillor Busich.
Aye.
Right, that's carried. Thank you all very much. The next one is to do with the council consider the item not on the agenda. Hang on. Not on the agenda. 1A Seaview Road, Paihia, approved to grant easement on local purpose Esplanade Reserve under the Reserve Act 1977, which I intend to move. And the reason for it, of course, is that Kelly raised with me yesterday, and I'll ask Kelly to comment, that there is a slip that is dangerous, threatening a house, but also possibly people who may walk along under the beach could also be in danger. And what we're asking for is permission for our vehicles to cross a council reserve so that the slip can be addressed. And it was suggested that we wait until the 20th of May, or we could have signed it off later on, but it seems sensible to me to deal with it today. So that's the background to it. And Kelly, do you wish to add? I'm moving it. Would you like to second and add any comments?
Yeah, I'm happy to second it, and I can speak to it when we get to the next resolution, if you like. Or if there's that huff and puff in the background, maybe. So there is a lot of urgency in us addressing this today, fellow colleagues. A person's livelihood is at stake, but if you know where the Beachcomber restaurant used to be located in Paihia, that's where the site is. The property is right next to where the Beachcomber was, and so it's all building consent and resource consent are through. The only hold up now is permission by this easement to have a digger on what is left of council reserve on the edge of the cliff there. Kia ora.
Okay, thank you for that. It's all pretty straightforward. Is there any other comment?
I'd like to raise some concerns, Your Worship.
Right, way you go, Ed.
I'd like to start with a 172-page report that is presented to elected members. For me, I can't speak for my colleagues, 20 minutes I've had to read a 172-page report that's clearly been in the system for some months. The report talks about the slip that originally occurred in February 2021. It is not clear to me from what I've been able to read in the 20 minutes exactly the extent of what's been proposed to be undertaken on the reserve, because the report talks in one place about access, then it talks about legal liability for the ownership of the assets on the reserve, maintenance of the assets on the reserve, and in the planner's report it actually talks about the option of transferring some of the land on the reserve by boundary adjustment to the home owner for the purposes of ensuring they're responsible for future maintenance. While I understand the urgency and I'm not necessarily opposed to doing something to give this homeowner some comfort and to shore up the house, what I did manage to garner in my limited reading was that the foundations were typically shallow and not specifically designed to resist slope movement. Having said that, there has been no observed slope movement between the photos taken in 1953 and present day. The dwelling foundations have not been undermined by the landslide. So I am really questioning why this has been brought to us under urgency and could not wait until the full council meeting next week, which would give us all time to read it and understand the implications. What I'm not clear on at the moment, because the recommendation is just to allow the granting of the easement, is where does the full legal liability stand? Who's defined what the full legal liability is and what are the legal instruments to carry that forward? So I would just like to hear from the report author and get some comfort, because they're much more familiar with it than I am. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, just let me respond to one part. I made the decision to hold the meeting today because I was told that not only were there assets at risk, but there was also possibility of lives at risk if it slipped onto the beach. And rather than us have to wait another 2 weeks, Thursday week, for us at council meeting to nod and say okay, I felt it was appropriate for it today. That's why it's on the agenda at my direction. Right, does the author of the report want to, or Blair or whoever want to from the staff respond, and then I'll take John Vucic.
Well, Your Worship, I'm here as the report writer under instruction to have the report written for today's meeting. Councillor Court, through the chair, all of the information that you have before you would have been presented for the next council meeting. So as a matter of process, what has happened is an application for resource consent was submitted by the landowner end of March. It was considered by the resource consent team and a decision was issued last week, so less than a week ago, which was the 3rd of May 2022. The legal team then got together last week to find the best or most appropriate legal mechanism with which to accept the encroachment, which is 2.2 metres of one of the retaining walls that will be encroaching on the reserve to support the foundation of the house. The most appropriate legal mechanism was by granting of easement pursuant to Section 48 of the Reserves Act. With that in mind, the report would have been written as it was around that. Now, moving forward, what would happen once council had approved, or if it was to approve the granting of an easement, the landowner's legal representative and legal services from council would set about putting together an easement agreement where the liability for any encroachment on the reserve and any damage caused by that encroachment would sit with the landowner, and council's liability would be discharged. So the agreement would be purely sitting with the landowner for cost of maintenance, for liability of damage, etc. And there would be some negotiation around what that easement agreement would look like before it be registered against title, that being Miss Banfield's property. So it was in all a matter of course, really, but it has been in a hurry for you today. And that's the information I can provide you.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you very much. Councillor Busich.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. But I'm too a little bit concerned that that was done at short notice so that we couldn't actually fully digest it in making a decision. But I also agree that this is a risk, and on that basis and on basis of what Carla has said, I have to go for the recommendation of staff. Seems sensible to me. And I'm also looking at the weather as well. It's going to be wetter months, so I think we just can't wait. And I'd hate to be waiting until the next meeting and then to be told it's actually slipped in between. So I'm in favour of getting the access, granting the access to fix it.
Thank you very much. Kelly's asked the question, are we deciding whether we'll take the paper or actually pass a resolution? We'll do both, Kelly. Okay, does anybody else wish to comment? Otherwise, I will put the resolution.
Can I have my question answered from somebody who has read the report, not just legal? You've been advised that there was a potential risk to life.
Yep.
I want to know if that is the case, please.
Yes, thank you,
On
Blair.
page 155 and 156, it talks about slippage and potential risk. Not,
Okay.
sorry, go Blair.
No, sorry, go.
Okay, my take on the request to council and John Visage, Councillor John Visage has pretty well nailed it. The EQC, who have processed a claim following a weather event, as I understand it from this property, which is the EQC one, had basically said, hey, look, this is only going to exacerbate. In other words, the longer we leave it, the more risk is going to be on the property. One of the challenges council has from that point is, are they a party to this slip event? In a way, we're not. We didn't cause the slip, but EQC have made it quite clear the solution that is being designed by external parties does affect council because of the reserve. Your question from the Deputy Mayor is why under urgency? It's, my take is, yes, not good doing 172 pages. I think we could have got away with simply the EQC view of relative, that's the claim. They don't directly say, yes, it's an imminent risk of failure. What I am familiar with when I read this report, more from an engineer than a CEO, is they're talking around an area of land that because of the trees are over it, you can't really get a good picture of what's happened over time. What they are saying is that it is a shallow slip, which means the longer you leave it, the more those house foundations will go, which means the cost of repair goes up. So this is the issue why, when it was brought to me, I supported going up as soon as practical. I was on the mistake, and it's legal that it pointed out it needs to be full council. If this wasn't a council decision, then it would have just gone under delegation that we would have signed off, so the consent team could have finished their bit and this person could engage a contractor to go and build the wall. So really your question comes back to our ability to process this in a timely way. We haven't helped ourselves by not picking up early enough that the LTO, if we'd asked legal earlier, I think they would have just said, sorry, licensed to occupy needs to be full council. You get that somewhere when this train left the station, which is some time ago, basically when the first EQC report was done. So that would have answered your question then around when we should have done this. The situation is now the person is getting increasingly stressed that we're in May. There is, while the council could leave the item on the table, I don't think, in essence, putting 172 pages of detailed design is really helping you. It is really just a question of, is there any legitimate reason why council shouldn't give an LTO? And my view is there's none.
Thank you for that advice, Blair. That's very clear. I appreciate that. Kelly, you had your hand up. You've taken it down now.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I can add anything more than what Blair has said. I heard yesterday or Saturday that this was coming as a paper today, but I had been working on it for the last 2 weeks, trying to understand why the form of tenure was taking so long. And I appreciate the staff's work, even, you know, calling the person on Saturday to let them know where it's at, because she's really stressed out about, you know, us now being in winter, and worried that it's just going to be further exacerbated by incoming weather. It's the family home, and yeah, she's just trying to save it, and she feels very, very tied up in our processes, unfortunately. So yeah, it's really good to see this item, you know, that our consideration of this today is hopefully going to mean because she's got all the materials. Yay, a person has all their construction materials on site. She just needs this tick and works can begin on the retaining wall to alleviate the imminent risk that the WSP report has highlighted. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, it just made common sense for me, but right, is there any other comments?
Councillor Clendon, Your Worship.
Councillor Clendon, thank you.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at this document. I got home about 10 to 3 in time for this meeting, so I have no idea what the context is. But do I understand the slip happened, what, 18 months, 2 years ago?
14th February 2021, Councillor Clendon.
21. Oh yeah, so something over a year ago. And suddenly it's, you know, 2 weeks is going to make or break the whole deal, which seems a bit peculiar.
Yes, Councillor Clendon, it's probably more, it's not so much the 2 weeks, it is the ability to build the solution, which is basically 2 or 3 step down retaining walls and evacuate some soil or excavate some soil, take away the preload. So for them to do that and get that right, as the ground saturates, you'll push this out basically through winter into September, October. So it's really a window, it's risk on the contractor if they start now.
So presumably this has all only just been finalised in the last day or two, has it? We've had
Last few minutes, yeah.
Our last meeting was less than 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? So nothing was ready then?
Licence to occupy was basically developed by legal over the weekend.
Okay.
That's our issue. We should have picked up on the need for a council sign off on the licence to occupy. So we've noted that.
Okay.
And Your Worship, I think Councillor Radich was trying to speak as well.
Maddie, you want to make comment?
Not really. It's just to say that some of you are talking in riddles. I think, you know, we just put it to the vote and that's it. It's a pretty straightforward one.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Radich. All right, let's put the vote then. I'm in favour. Councillor Court,
In favour.
Councillor Clendon,
Abstain.
Councillor Collard,
In favour.
Councillor Radich,
Yes.
Councillor Smith,
Abstain.
Councillor Stratford,
Aye.
Councillor Tepanier,
In favour.
Councillor Vucic.
In favour.
Thank you all. That motion is carried. Excellent. That brings us to the end of the meeting. It was always going to be short, 20 minutes.
Apologies,
Bishop.
you always. Oh, you go, Aisha.
Go on, Aisha. Tell me
The
what I need to
motion-
do next.
The motion you've just passed on is just whether or not you actually accept.
Oh,
the
okay.
report.
All right. So we need to now vote on the main vote. All right. Thank you very much. I'm in favour. Oh, you need to move and second it for it, do you? I'm in favour. I move it. Kelly will
I
second
second.
it. Okay, let's put the vote. I'm in favour. Councillor Court,
In favour.
Clendon,
Abstain.
Councillor Collard,
In favour.
Councillor Radich,
Aye.
Councillor Smith,
Abstain.
Councillor Stratford,
Aye.
Councillor Tepanier,
Aye.
Councillor Vucic. John,
You muted, John.
Aye.
thank you.
I've had 3 votes now.
Indeed. Very good. All right, so that's all carried and done. So thank you all. That's the very purpose of the emergency meeting. Thank you for your participation. And Kelly, do you want to do a karakia to close our meeting, please?
Oh, certainly, I shall. Thank you. Kia tau, kia tātou katoa, te ata whai o tō tātou ariki, o ihu karaiti me te aroha me te atua me te whiwhinga tahitanga ki te wairua tapu. Ake, ake, amene.
Thank you all for your participation. Much appreciated.
I'm
Thank you.
Go well.